You can't open a news app these days without hearing about some new AI breakthrough, right? Well, behind all those headlines, there's this high-stakes global power struggle brewing over something called AI sovereignty. And honestly, it's a concept that's going to define the future of technology and, really, nations themselves. So, let's break it down. It all boils down to this one fundamental question. As all these different nations are racing for AI supremacy, they're all smacking into the same wall, the same challenge. Can we really build and control our own AI destiny, completely free from outside influence?
So what are we actually talking about when we say AI sovereignty? Well, it's not about building some kind of digital fortress and cutting yourself off from the world. According to the Brookings Institution, it's really about a nation's ability to make its own independent decisions about AI. It's all about having strategic control in a world that's being completely reshaped by this technology.
And the reasons why countries want this are huge. First off, national security. No country wants its power grid or its defense systems to be totally dependent on foreign tech. Then there's the economics. AI is a trillion-dollar industry, and you better believe everyone wants a piece of that pie. Third, and this is a big one, is culture. Nations want AI that actually reflects their own languages and values. An AI that's shaping your society needs to understand your local context, not just import some kind of West Coast American bias. And finally, global influence. If you don't have serious AI capabilities, you just don't get a seat at the table when it comes to shaping the future.
But here is the massive catch. This dream of total AI independence, it collides with a very, very hard reality. And to see why, we need to understand a concept called the AI stack.
Okay, now this looks a little complex, but the core idea is actually pretty simple. As you can see here, AI isn't just one single thing. It's a stack of these deeply interconnected layers. The best way to think about it is like a game of Jenga. If you pull out the wrong piece from the bottom, the entire thing is going to come crashing down. So let's build this stack from the ground up and see just how it works.
Everything starts in the physical world. You need critical minerals to build the hardware. You need absolutely massive amounts of energy to power the data centers, and a staggering volume of water just to keep them cool. Right away, you can see the problem. No single country has a monopoly on all of these essential resources. It's just not possible.
So, building on top of that foundation, we get the digital infrastructure layer. This is the hardware itself. We're talking advanced chips that are often designed in the US and then fabricated in places like Taiwan. And then you have the massive cloud platforms and data centers that are basically the brains of the whole operation.
Next up, we have the layer where the intelligence actually starts to take shape. This includes the enormous data sets you need for training, the foundational models themselves, which, by the way, cost billions of dollars to create, and all the complex software frameworks that tie it all together.
And finally, right at the very top of the stack, you find the applications. This is the AI that you and I interact with every day, your chatbots, your navigation apps, your recommendation engines. But you have to remember, every single one of them relies on all the layers we just walked through that are sitting right underneath it.
And this brings us to the absolutely crucial takeaway, which the Brookings Institution states perfectly here. Because every single layer of this stack has global choke points, areas where the supply is dominated by just one or two countries. The whole idea of controlling the entire stack yourself is, for almost any nation, a complete fantasy.
So if nobody can do it all themselves, how is the world adapting? Well, it's creating this fascinating geopolitical landscape where you see different players adopting very different strategies to try and compete.
This diagram from the report shows that the world of AI is definitely not flat. At the very top, you've got a few of these broad stack leaders, think the US and China, who are really aiming to be strong across pretty much the entire stack. And then you have stack builders and layer specialists. These are countries that are smartly focusing on mastering just one or two critical pieces of the puzzle.
And these two types of players have completely different goals, right? A broad leader, they want dominance. They want to export their entire tech stack and all the rules that govern it. But a layer specialist, they're going for mastery. Their goal is to become so essential in just one area, like Taiwan with chipmaking or Canada with AI research, that they become absolutely indispensable to everybody else.
And we can see these strategies playing out in real time all across the globe. The US is pushing its tech ecosystem to be the sort of global gold standard. China is aggressively pursuing self-reliance to try and insulate itself from outside pressure and build a parallel system. The EU is trying to chart a third way, hoping to lead the world on regulation while building shared European assets. And then you have India, which is leveraging its massive digital public infrastructure, the India Stack, to build its own unique AI ecosystem from the ground up.
So, if going it alone is basically a fantasy, what's the smart alternative? This is where we pivot away from the problem and towards a much more realistic solution.
The Brookings report calls this strategy managed interdependence. The idea is simple, but it's really powerful. You have to accept that you can't control everything. Instead, you strategically choose your partners and you build alliances to create resilient supply chains. So the goal isn't to eliminate your dependencies, but to manage them intelligently.
And the report offers this really practical framework for how to do this. For each and every layer of that AI stack we talked about, policymakers should be asking 4 key questions. First, how critical is this layer to us? Second, can we realistically improve our own capabilities here? Third, what does the market look like? Are there alternatives, or is it a monopoly? And finally, if we have to rely on others, how do we best manage that risk?
So really, the ultimate takeaway here is a massive shift in thinking. The smart play isn't trying to carry the entire AI stack all on your own. It's about identifying where you can truly excel and then building strong, reliable partnerships for everything else. It's about mastering your specific place within the global AI ecosystem.
All right, so let's zoom out for a second. What does all of this really mean for the future of our deeply, deeply connected world?
Ultimately, this whole race for AI sovereignty presents every single nation with a fundamental choice. As AI becomes the bedrock of the global economy, are countries going to turn inward and try to build digital walls, or will they embrace strategic cooperation and build the bridges we need for a more resilient, global AI future? The path they choose, well, it's going to define the next century.